Hi everyone, welcome back to Pac-12 Softball, the final swing. I'm your host, Aaliyah Jordan. If you don't know who I am, I played at UCLA for 7 years, just got done this past spring, was a 2019 national champion and a 2-time All-American, and now I do this. So this podcast covers everything Pac-12 softball this season, and every week or every Friday I should say, you should expect lots of Pac-12 softball from me. So this week we're going to dive straight in. We are in week 9 of season, which is insane. I feel like the season has just flown by. We're definitely halfway through Pac, which is wild. Like I said, it's just flown by, and we're getting down to the nitty gritty. We're getting closer and closer to the final Pac-12. There's only been going to be 2 ever, but the final Pac-12 tournament. And it'll be really interesting to see what the standings look like going into that tournament and then how everything unfolds, because obviously last year didn't go how exactly we expected. I mean, there were some upsets and different things like that, but it'll be interesting to say the least. So let's get straight into these past weekends series. So we're going to start off with Stanford and ASU. So Stanford swept ASU this past weekend. Stanford won game 1, 4-0 on 4 hits. And, of course, Stanford's Aaliyah Kennedy got the win, only giving up 2 hits. Game 2 was 14-0 Stanford. Stanford's pitchers, Reagan Krause and Alyssa Houston, held ASU just to 1 hit in 5 innings. In fact, Reagan Krause actually had 3 perfect innings before leaving the game. If I was a pitcher and I had 3 perfect innings and they decided to take me out, I would be so upset. But I mean, I'm sure she wanted to give, her teammates some more time, but nonetheless, amazing outing for her. Stanford won game 3, just 1-0. And overall, the whole weekend, in 19 innings, their pitching staff allowed no runs on 10 hits with 21 strikeouts. They have one of the best pitching staffs in the country right now. It is insane. So after this weekend, Stanford is number 1 in the Pac, of course, with a 10-1 record, and ASU is now in 9th in the Pac with a 2-10 record. Let's go on over to the Oregon and Washington series. That was actually a really interesting series. I don't want to say that I was surprised that Oregon took the series, but kind of. I mean, Washington's been doing so well this season. Not that Oregon hasn't, but the behavior, and I shouldn't say behavior, the outcome, what we saw this weekend from Washington is not typically what we see. So Washington won game 1, actually. They won 8-3. Ruby Mealing got the start, tossing 3.2 innings with 3 strikeouts and 3 runs allowed. They put in Sydney Peters. She came in relief, picked up her 6th win of the season, allowing just 2 hits and 3 strikeouts and a walk. Washington's offense this game: Riley Holtorf, Olivia Johnson, and Sydney Stewart all hit home runs in that game. In game 2, a little bit of a different story, Oregon jumped out early to a 4-run lead after the first inning. They then scored 5 more runs in the second inning and held on to take the win 9-8 and even the series. Of course, I feel like we've heard we've heard this name all season long for Oregon, but Valerie Wong homered twice that game. Not only that, but Hannah Delgado, Ariel Carson also homered that game. Oregon's offense just went off after this. Washington did try to fight back in that game. Brooke Nelson hit a 3-run homer in the second for Washington to make it 3-4. They then tied it in the 4th. Alana Johnson homered in the 5th to make it 5-9 in the 3rd. Then Brooke Nelson homered again in the 5th, and then they scored again in the 6th to make it 8-9, but they couldn't score after that. So Washington, we did see fight from Washington. They just couldn't get it done, which we typically don't see from Washington. In game 3, Washington came out hot with a 2-run homer from Alana Johnson. I feel like we've heard that name, Alana Johnson, so much for Washington this season, and she has just, I feel like, blossomed into one of their best hitters. I'm gonna try to get her on the podcast. We're gonna try to get her on the podcast next week. But yeah, she's just doing amazing for Washington this season. Back to the game. She came out hot with the 2-run homer from her. Then they scored again in the second to make it 3-0. Then in the fifth, Alyssa Daniel came up clutch for Oregon. They had bases loaded. She doubled to left center. She cleared the bases. She made it 3-3. Then Emma Kauf came up, hit Alyssa Daniel in, made it 4-3 Oregon. Then freshman Katie Flannery hit her first career home run at Jane Sanders Stadium. 2-run shot, made it 6-3. UW did have the bases loaded after that in the 6th and the 7th, but they just couldn't get another run across. So Oregon ended up taking that game and taking the series. And while I can't say I'm so surprised about this, I just feel like we've seen Washington's pitching staff just do so amazing and just blow it by all the batters, all the hitters in the Pac-12, that we haven't typically seen this many like home runs, this many runs off their pitching staff. So I'm kind of surprised, but I also want to give my kudos to Oregon's offense. It's not like they just don't hit, you know? So I feel like they just did an amazing job. They came out hot. I mean, obviously they dropped game 1 against Washington, but game 2, game 3, you just saw it. They got better and better each game. And it's that point in the season where, you know, you kind of have to. You're facing the big dogs like Washington, and they're going to face plenty of more, and you want to be your best when it gets to postseason, and I definitely see that for Oregon. Okay, let's go on over to Oregon State versus UCLA. UCLA won the series, but not before Oregon State could take game 3. So in game 1, Taylor Tinsley struck out a career-high 12 batters. They had 2 home runs from Jordan Woolery and Charlize Palacios in a 6-1 win. Clark from Oregon State, her home run was the only run scored for Oregon State that game. In game 2, the Bruins won 5-2. Charlize Palacios again went 3 for 3. Jalen Auchen hit a solo home run. Taylor Stevens hit an RBI double as well. And the freshman Caitlin Terry got the win in the circle. Now, game 3. Game 3 is what we have to talk about. Logan Houlihan of Oregon State did a phenomenal job of just shutting out the UCLA offense. So much so where she was the Pac-12 Pitcher of the Week. She tossed the entire 7 innings that game. She struck out 5 while allowing just 2 hits and 3 walks and no earned runs. She did a phenomenal job. I'm not going to take anything away from her. She did amazing. She kept them off balance, mixed in her rise ball, mixed speeds really well. She just did an amazing job of keeping the UCLA offense off of their game. One thing I do have to say about the UCLA offense is that I feel like no one really showed up, and I feel they kind of ran themselves into some outs. I think it was like the bottom of the 6th or something like that, and they did a sac bunt. The runner ended up getting in a pickle, going from 2nd to 3rd. You know, they kind of lost the game themselves. It seems like sometimes either the whole offense shows up or none of the offense shows up, which again, we're at that point in season where your whole lineup cannot go silent, and that's just seemed what happened in game 3 for them. So back to that game though, back to the offense of Oregon State. Oregon State's Aaliyah Gottlieb led the OSU offense in hits, going 3 for 3, while Lacey Campbell, Abby Dorr, and Paige Dorr, and Madison Simon, also had a hit apiece. So they got it done in game 3, but UCLA eventually obviously took that series. On over to the Utah versus Arizona series. So in game 1, it was a pitching duel between Mariah Lopez and Miranda Studdard until the 4th inning when Utah scored 2. Arizona's Carly Scubin homered in the top of the 5th, and in the bottom of the 5th, check this out, Taylor Jacobs, the freshman, the pinch hitter, hit her first career solo home run to extend the lead and eventually get the win for Utah 3-1. Arizona won game 2, 10-8 in 8 innings to even the series. The Wildcats scored 10 runs on 14 hits, 10 RBIs, of course, led by Carly Scupin with the 4 RBIs, and Reagan Shockey had a career high of 4 hits. Arizona then won the final game of the series, taking the series against Utah 7-4 to secure the series victory. Arizona scored 7 runs on 8 hits, and of course, Dakota Kennedy, who is our special guest for the week. I probably should have mentioned that earlier. Dakota Kennedy, of course. Sorry. I need to go back to that. Dakota Kennedy and Emily Shep each had 2 hits. But yes, like I said, Dakota Kennedy is our special guest for the week, and we will be showing that interview a little bit later. But I'm really excited for that. I had to mention that while we talked about Arizona. Also have to mention Arizona's Reagan Shockey was the freshman of the week. She went 5 for 12 this weekend. Did an amazing job for Arizona in the 3-game series. She had a career-high 4 hits in the second game, drove in a run as a part of the sixth run, 5th in the Sunday's victory against Utah. Just had an amazing weekend. Kudos to her. Not only to mention, Utah's Aaliyah was player of the week. So she went 11 for 15, batting .733 this week. Over 4 games, recording 19 total bases, 7 runs scored. She was 4 for 4 in the run rule win against Utah State. That was outside the pack, but overall play this weekend. She played a pair and blasted her 3rd home run of the season on Friday against Arizona, even though they did lose that game. Still did amazing. She recorded 3 hits, including 2 doubles, and worked a walk in Sunday's finale while also scoring 2 runs on Sunday. So she had a phenomenal weekend. Lastly, we are going to be talking about Cal, because Cal had their bye week this week. So, like I said, Cal had their bye week. They didn't play against any Pac-12 schools, but they did play a 3-game series against LMU at home. They won 2 of those 3, lost the last one. In game 1, neither team scored until the 4th. Cal ended up winning 6-0 on 10 hits. Tatum Alzaldo went 3 for 3 with RBIs. Keisha Anders hit her 17th double this season while also having a few RBIs. That's insane. 17 doubles, and we're not even done with the season. I'm gonna predict she gets at least 25 doubles, which will be huge. She is just a doubles machine, clearly. Game 2, of course, Pac-12 home run leader Elon Butler homered this game. She's also another person that I need to get on this podcast because she's leading the pack in home runs. She's leading the pack in a few categories, actually, but she's just doing phenomenal this year. And so we're going to get her on the podcast for sure. They end up winning 3-2 on 6 hits. And then, of course, I shouldn't say of course, but in game 3, they lost. Tatum Alzaldo recorded 3 hits, though, with a home run and 2 RBIs, but it just wasn't enough to get past LMU as they lost 6-3 in the finale of the series. So, wish they would have gotten that third win, but it happens. Speaking of that, I feel like that is just softball. That is just our game. I was going to say Pac-12 softball, but I feel like that's just our game. It's not just about, oh, so-and-so is ranked higher than the other team, so they're going to win. That's just not how it works. It's honestly just whoever shows up that day, they're going to get the win. Whoever wants it more, they're going to get it. Clutch hitting, pitching, defense. I mean, that's honestly what it comes down to at the end of the day. So rankings don't matter. I mean, we've seen it. We saw Oregon State beat UCLA this past weekend. Oregon State beat Arizona a couple weekends ago. Oregon took the series from Washington this weekend. So we're getting down to the wire, and all these teams are starting to buckle down. We're starting to see people take games from each other. I just feel like this is just foreshadowing for the Pac-12 tournament, which will be so much fun. I'm really excited to see what ends up happening in this tournament. So let's talk about the Pac-12 rankings so far. So we've got a few more weeks left in the pack, and so far we have Stanford at number 1. They are 11-1 in conference. UCLA is now number 2. They're 8-3 in conference. Washington is 10-5. And I feel like people are probably like, why is Washington below UCLA even though they have more wins? So it's actually based off your losses, if I'm not wrong. So UCLA only has 3 losses. Washington has 5. So that's why they're ranked lower. So UCLA's number 2. Washington's number 3. Oregon's number 4. They're 9-5. Arizona's next, 7-8 in conference. Cal is 4-8. Oregon State's 4-8. Utah's 4-11, and Arizona State is 2-10. So, again, super excited to see what the rest of this season looks like before the Pac 12 tournament. Um, we actually got some pretty good matchups this weekend. We have Cal playing at UCLA. We've got Arizona playing against Oregon. That'll be a really good series. Those are two very evenly matched teams. So that is all I have for you as far as recaps this week. And now let's get straight into our interview. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Pac 12 Softball, the final swing. I'm your host, Aaliyah Jordan, and today we have sophomore Dakota Kennedy from University of Arizona.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast, of course.
No, thank you for having me.
Okay, so first question. Obviously, we know you're such a versatile hitter. You can drop a bunt, you can hit a home run, steal a base. I'm assuming you slap as well. Tell me, like, what do you attribute your success to? Like, I feel like I personally could never do all three of those things, but what is it like for you?
Yeah, for me, I think it's really just my coaches just having so much faith in me. And they're always like, you have the green light, just play your game, do what you want to do. Obviously, sometimes like they'll tell me like don't butt, which is fine with me because I love hitting, but it's nice to be able to do all those things. I can slap, I don't, but I can.
Yeah.
Um, but mainly it's just like hitting and bunting, and I love that they trust me to, just be myself at the plate.
Yeah, so that's my next question. So how do you go into each at bat differently? Like, do you just assess the situation? Because I feel like there was times where we played you and we're like, oh, like she's gonna swing away, she's gonna swing away, and then you dropped a bunt. And we were like, oh, okay, well now she's on first.
Yeah, it's definitely me assessing the situation, obviously just going into a bat, the runners in scoring position, I'm trying to hit most likely, but you know, um, last year and this year, I'm kind of moved between spots in the lineup. I'm when I'm hitting bat off, when I'm hitting lead off, starting the game, I'm just trying to see as many pitches as possible for my team and also, just get on base. So that could be a situation where I butt. It's really just up to how I'm feeling, honestly.
So now that you're a sophomore, I feel like I should have this conversation with like when I was playing like every sophomore. Obviously, you come
Mhm.
as a freshman, nobody has film on you, and you're like just playing, like you're free. And then your sophomore year, people have film on you, and the sophomore slump essentially is what I'm trying to say. Everybody has a
Yeah.
sophomore. Everyone's like, oh my God, like what's going on? And I'm like, it's not you, I'm telling you, it's the fact that people now have video on you. What do you feel like
Hmm.
is different this year for you versus last year? I mean, obviously you're still doing amazing, so that's good.
Thank you.
But are you different as a hitter this year than you were last year?
Yeah, last year was definitely an experience. Being
Yeah.
a freshman, I honestly feel like even though they don't have film on you, it's like they know you're a freshman, so it's kind of like they're gonna attack you. And then now as a sophomore, knowing they have film on me from last year and this year, I think it's just staying within myself and being confident with like knowing what I have and just doing the best I can with what I have.
Mhm. So tell me, what's practice like for you? Like, how do you make it game like, or do you even make it game like? I know for me,
Yeah.
like, whenever we would practice, it was just, this is probably bad to admit, but like I was just like, it's like a playground for me, right? So like we'll be doing
Uh-huh.
bats and I'll just be joking around. Like obviously like getting my reps in and like trying to be so
100%.
I can, but like what is practice like for you?
Yeah. Honestly, like part of that is really the same for me. Like as a player, honestly, I just love to be out there and have fun. So at practice, I'm the same way. When I'm off on the side waiting for my rounds, I'm joking around with my teammates, also paying attention, but having fun. But for me, it's really just honing in and locking in when it's my time. Like from at bat, I'm like, okay, this pitch, I need to do what I need to do with this pitch, and then once I'm done, I take my time, and then once I'm back, it's okay. This is what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. I mean, I love that you're able to joke around, especially like at your age, especially like a sophomore or even as a freshman. I feel like everybody comes in and they're so serious and they like, we have to be just like this and no messing around. And I'm like, girl, like you are fine. Like this like is okay. If we make this is where you want to make mistakes. This is where you want to be,
100%.
not during the game. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. Okay, so obviously we know softball is so hard. It's a game of failure. So
Hmm.
how do you manage, obviously you're so successful, but how do you manage, being a student athlete, juggling school, softball, personal life, everything in between?
Yeah. So for me, it's all about separation. I've always been, kind of when I'm with softball, I'm with softball. When I'm with academics, I'm with academics. And when I'm with friends, family, or whatever, like that's just what I'm doing. And I feel like for me, that helps because I'm not worried in the back of my mind, like about something else. Like I just love to be in the present. So for me, that's how I juggle it all. Obviously, at times it does get really hectic and I can't always just, stop thinking about one thing when I'm doing something. But honestly, I think it's all about like prioritizing what you're doing and being in the moment.
Yeah. I tried to do some research on like what your major is. What's your major? I couldn't find it online.
Yeah, I'm a criminal justice major and I'm minoring in Spanish and pre-law.
Minoring in Spanish. Oh my God.
Yeah.
You speak it pretty well?
I mean, I can. I'm honestly better at understanding it and reading and writing, but I can also speak it pretty well.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we had to take Spanish here. Like that's what I chose for my like foreign language. And
Okay.
like I took Spanish in high school as well. And I can if you're talking to me, like I can understand, but if you ask me to respond, I'm like, I don't know about that one.
Yeah. I mean, it might take me a second, but I'll get it out and it's pretty logical.
So what do you want to do with that? What do you want to do with those that education?
So I'm thinking maybe of going to law school. I haven't totally decided, but I know I do want to work in the criminal justice system. And I know just having like that background in Spanish would allow me honestly to be able to, if I do become a lawyer or something like that, just be able to represent, a different group of people and a more like diverse group, just, throughout the country.
Wow, I love that. I feel like that'd be so
Yeah.
like, yeah, I played D1 softball for Arizona and I'm a lawyer. Like, what?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so cool. Well, I hope you go to law school. I'm like rooting for you for that.
Thank you.
So sorry, going back to softball. So can you walk me through like a particular moment from a game or at bat, whatever it is that you felt like you were really proud of that was like a high pressure situation? Could be from this season, could be from last season. Um, can you share one of those stories for us?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm putting you on the
I
spot.
feel like when my teammates, if they see this, they're gonna laugh at me. But it was this whole game. I feel like for the entire team, like last year, it was huge for us. So we were at Clearwater and we were playing Virginia Tech, and honestly, like it wasn't really the best tournament for us, but we were working through things we need to work through, and I just remember we were facing Emma Limley, and I think that game she had like 17 strikeouts or something like that. Like she was insane that game. Like I'll give it to her. She did so good. But like me, myself, and the team, we were just so gritty. And I had this at bat where I swung at her rise balls here and there, but I just sat on this changeup, and I got a double, and I was just so hyped. And I think we scored. Like I scored after that. Um, and we ended up winning the game 3-1. And I think that at bat was just like so insane. Like thinking about it, like just I was doing anything honestly for the team to be able to get on base. Like it wasn't even about me at that point. It was just like I need to get on base, so hopefully I can score. And yeah, they're gonna laugh because there's a video about that at bat. But yeah,
That's
it was good.
funny. I remember there was one year we were, oh, I mean, it had to be last year. So we were watching film on you guys, like preparing, obviously. And you it had to be early in the season and you had gotten hit by a pitch and you were like, oh, and then like took off sprinting. And I remember
Yep.
like, oh my God, that is so cute. It was like the cutest and like funniest thing ever. We were like, that's such a freshman right there. Like, I
Yeah,
ouch. And then immediately just like sprinted off. And then it's funny because you played with Jordan, right?
I did. Yeah. Oh, I love Jordan.
So funny. She literally was like, "Oh my God, that was like a thing we did in travel ball. Like we would get hit and then just immediately like take off." And so it was
Yeah.
so funny. I remember seeing that and like dying. And like every time I think about you, I literally think about that when we were watching that film. That was
Oh
hilarious.
my gosh, that was Clearwater too. Actually, that was like one of our first games. I think
Yeah.
that was hilarious. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what do you feel like what part of your hitting do you feel like you've improved the most over this season? I guess maybe not even this season, from last season to this season.
hmm Honestly, I think I've improved the most. I'm still working on it, but I think I've improved the most at being able to adjust in my at bats, from pitch to pitch, because I think like last year and even in the fall when I was working on it, and even now sometimes, just like not being stuck on like one pitch and being able to adjust, like, okay, I realize she's throwing me this. It might not be what I expected, but just like changing my mindset to be like, okay, like this is what I'm gonna get, so this is what I need to work with. I feel like I've improved the most on that, and I'm still working. With my hitting coach Josh Boomer, that was one of the things that we said after the fall, like this is what we're going to continue working on, and I feel like I have improved in that area.
Nice. Yeah, I remember that was like something that was hard for me as a freshman. Like
Hmm.
I remember like there was so my whole freshman season, like I could not hit the outside pitch at all. Like they would hound me outside, outside, out, and I was like,
Yeah,
why can I not adjust to this? I'm like expecting inside, like no one's gonna give a power lefty an inside pitch. Come on now.
yeah.
So that was so hard for me. I that wasn't something I learned until well into my career. So I
Hmm.
remember learning that much, much, much sooner than I did.
Yeah.
So obviously playing for University of Arizona, one of the best, softball programs in the country and has such like a rich excellence in, in history. How does it feel
Hmm.
to represent that on the field and like playing for Arizona? I actually, okay, before you answer that question,
Yeah,
Coach I's gonna kill me for admitting this, but I always wanted to go to Arizona. That was like dream.
yeah.
Well, I was like, I'm going to Arizona, like I'm gonna be wild. Like literally, I remember just being like such a like hardcore. That was the only school I wanted to go to.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I was heartbroken. And of course I end up at the rival UCLA.
Yeah.
Yeah. How does that feel? I feel like that has to be so crazy because obviously, especially when I like talk to people that telling people that I played softball, like they're always like, "Oh yeah, UCLA, Arizona." Like they're always like a top school. Like everybody knows like UCLA, Arizona are going to be like the top schools, especially from the past. So how do
100%.
you carry on that legacy.
Yeah, it's really honestly like an honor to be able to wear. I feel like a lot of us will say this, like the block A across our chest, like being able to represent Arizona, the softball program, and the school in general. Honestly, it's just an honor, and I feel like we carry ourselves a different way, knowing that we're a part of this program. And coming in, definitely, I remember putting on the uniform for the first time and just being like oh my gosh, like this isn't like I have the uniform on, and I still feel that way sometimes when I put the uniform on. I'm like, dang, like I get to go out there and I get to be an Arizona softball player, and honestly, it's just amazing. I'm just so blessed to even have this opportunity to be out on the field with these amazing girls on the team and carry on the legacy of the people who played before me. It's awesome, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I think it also has to mean a lot as being like a black athlete as well.
100%,
I feel
100%.
like it's so I love that the game is evolving now and there's so many more black female athletes playing. I remember growing up for me, like the only person I really could see was like BB Bates or Natasha Watley. Like there wasn't
Yeah,
athletes. Now I look and I'm like, half the team, has some color in them.
100%.
But yeah, how does that feel? How does that feel to be, a black athlete, especially in this game?
Yeah, that's honestly one of the biggest parts of my identity. Even honestly, outside of softball, like I'm just so proud to be a black woman. Like that is me, and I will openly say it loud and proud. Like I love it, and being able to be a black woman and play softball and just inspire other like young black girls like that we can get to this level and we can succeed. Like it just means the world, honestly.
Sure. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so looking ahead, what are some goals that you want to accomplish the remainder of this season? Not only this season, but in your career, you still have, 2 more years after this.
Hmm.
What are some things that you want to accomplish?
Yeah. Um, honestly, like I'm not like a super goal oriented person. Like I said earlier, like I try and just be in the present, but going into a game, like do anything I can for the team. Even if I don't get it at bat of the game, draw a walk, get hit by pitch, just be on base and try and help my team anyway. And if that doesn't happen, do my job on defense. Like it's little things like that, honestly. Obviously, I want to be an All-American. I think that's everyone's goal, or we have a goal to, win every game, just stuff like that. But honestly, just like doing the best that I can for my team is, the main goal for me each season.
Team player. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I have for you. I don't know what questions you have for me. I feel like I have to end
Yeah.
end every interview now with some questions for myself.
Yeah. First, I'm gonna say honestly, like it was insane playing against you last year. Like it didn't even feel real. Um, so when Katie told me that like you want to interview me, I was like, oh my gosh, like fangirling. I still am.
Oh yeah.
But I think I would just love to know like how you enjoyed softball, college softball during your years. Obviously, you had a great career and I loved watching it and kind of being a part of it, but I would just love to know like your thoughts.
Yeah. First off, that's so funny you say that because I remember so Jordan, because you're the same year as Jordan. So Jordan
Hmm.
came, she was like, "Oh my gosh." So I remember when Jordan took her unofficial. I think she was
Hmm.
in sixth grade, sixth, seventh. I don't even know what grade she
Yeah.
was young,
Yeah,
right?
we were young.
Oh my gosh. And so I was like, oh, I'm never gonna play with her. Like, so like she's way after me. And then like
Yeah.
I remember like one of our first practices, she was like, oh my gosh, like I'm practicing with Aaliyah. And I'm like, girl, you are my teammate now. Like, you cannot be acting like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously I loved my career. Obviously, I played for a very long time.
Yeah.
Um, it was so much fun. I think obviously with injuries it's hard, but just getting to experience, playing, Division 1 number one, experiencing going to the Women's College World Series, and it's
Yeah.
just I always tell everyone like I don't remember like my at bats. I mean maybe some bad, maybe a few bad ones, just a few
Yeah.
outcome. I don't remember the score. Like I remember the stuff we did in the dugout. I remember like playing jokes and pulling pranks and all that stuff. So I 100% like just enjoyed my career. I remember on senior day, like the whole week leading up to senior day, everyone's like the seniors are crying, like this is our last practice. And I'm like, I experienced everyone was like comparing it to wringing out a towel. Like I got every last drop out of my college experience.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. Not that I wasn't sad, but I was like, I literally experienced it all and I've accomplished literally every single thing that I wanted to accomplish and more. So I'm like, I'm good. Like I loved my experience the whole time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that.
But yeah. Anything else?
No. Well, actually, I was gonna ask, like, dealing with injuries, I feel like a lot of us, go through that and it's obviously tough. Like, how did you deal with that?
I think so. I had never gotten hurt, like never missed a game
Okay.
injury before college. So I tore my first ACL in fall of 2016. And
Hmm.
so that was like completely new to me. I was like depressed for a while, like I didn't know what to do. And then
Yeah.
I took that moment where I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not playing this year. Like I'm gonna do whatever I can to be the best teammate. And I think that's where like I grew the most as a person, not even like playing softball. Like I had to learn to walk again, run, like do
Yeah.
everything. And I was like, I don't even care about that. Like when I'm in the dugout and we're playing this game, like I'm trying to be the best teammate. So I would try to pick the pitcher's change up. Like that it was so funny because I did that my whole career essentially, even when I was able to play again. And
Yeah.
so thing like my team knows me as like trying to pick the pitcher's change up. But like just we started doing all these things in the dugout. Like we say like on the third strike, we'll say like see ya, or, like like different things like that. Like
Yeah.
so it's funny because like that's that year that a lot of those traditions like came up and were started. And so I just try to focus on being the best teammate that I could to my teammates because obviously if I couldn't help on the field, like I'm gonna help in the dugout, behind the scenes, any way that I can, because I mean that's really all I could do. And it kind of took the focus off like not being able to play because I had never experienced play before. Um, but yeah, it was as much as it sucked, I had to take pride in like the little victories and being able to like today I could lift because I also had Tommy John surgery. I was like, I could
Yeah.
1 pound today. I can lift, so like you can't focus on you have to focus on the bigger picture and like the little victories and not just
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I learned a lot in life from those injuries as much as I hated them, as painful as it was. I'm
Hmm.
grateful for them.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, well, that's all I have. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is really fun.
Yeah.
I know you guys are playing Oregon, right?
Yeah. Tomorrow. Yeah.
Well, good luck. I mean, I'm sure you don't need it. I'll sure be watching. But yeah, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you.
Of course. All I have for you guys this week. As always, thank you so much for tuning in every single Friday. We're getting down to the nitty gritty. We're almost there. We're almost to the Pac-12 tournament. Can't wait for all the. I feel like there's gonna be so much chaos. So excited. Looking forward to it. As always, if there's anything you guys want to hear me talk about, please let me know. Of course, subscribe to the Softball America channel, and I will see you guys next week.